Hello everyone, welcome back to Economics with Jagdeep. My name is Jagdeep. Now before we begin, tell me something. We always say that free market is most efficient when it comes to allocating resources. There's demand, supply, price signals, the invisible hand that sorts out everything, correct? But here's the thing, situations like pollution, smoking, free roads, they all give one signal that the market has failed. In today's video, we are going to answer to one big question. Why does the market fail? We'll cover all the major causes, and at the end I'll give you exam tips that you will need to score full marks in your IGCSE economics papers. So without wasting any time further, let's get started. Now for all those who don't know what a market failure is, I've already defined market failure in the video previous to this. You can take a look at that if you want a deeper discussion. However, I would just touch upon the meaning over here. So before we get on to the causes, let's define the term. What is market failure? So market failure occurs when the free market, when left on its own to operate, would fail to allocate the resources efficiently. That means there is misallocation of resources. It also means that private benefits are not equal to social benefits, right? What does it mean? It means that whatever market is producing for individuals is not equal to what is best for the society. That means the benefit for the society is either less or more than the individual. And this gap between the private and the social benefit is what we term as market failure. Okay? So market failure would happen when there is overproduction or underproduction of goods and services. So here's your first tip. Always link market failure to misallocation of resources in your answers. You're not supposed to just define it, but give that there is either overproduction or underproduction of goods and services. Now let's take a look at the causes. The first cause is externalities. In this video, we'll just brush it up. We'll make separate videos for each of the types of externalities. Alright, now externalities are in two categories. You have positive externalities and negative externalities. Okay. Now, externalities could be in terms of benefits or costs, and they arise from both production or consumption activities in both the cases. Now, externality is the most important topic in the whole of the IGCSE, A-levels and IBDP. Now, what is an externality? It's basically a cost or benefit that would fall on the third party, someone who is not directly involved in the transaction. That means this person is neither the producer nor the consumer, but is still getting impacted because of a production or a consumption activity. Clear? For example, when a factory is producing goods and services, they are making profits. That's a personal benefit, good for the producer. But because of the production, there is pollution that is getting generated, and that is putting people who live around the factory or near the factory at risk because they'll be breathing polluted air. This is a negative externality of production and hence an external cost. This is what we call as an externality. So the market failed because the factory only considered about its own private costs, for example, wages, raw materials, electricity. It did not consider the cost that was imposed on the society because of the pollution. So it overproduced beyond what a socially optimum level was. So here, marginal private cost was less than the marginal social cost, and that means the commodity is overproduced. And this is where the misallocation has happened. Now the opposite would be a positive externality, for example, taking vaccines. So when you get vaccinated, your benefit is by default there, right? You won't fall sick. But along with you, your family, your classmates, the people who are around you, they would also benefit because the disease won't spread through you. This is a positive externality, an external benefit. Now here in this case, marginal private benefit is less than marginal social benefit, and in this case the vaccination is kind of underproduced. People don't take vaccination, correct? Now in this case the market would fail because ideally producers would only consider their own private benefit and not the social benefit, and hence there will be misallocation of resources, in this case under allocated. Clear? So this is your tip number 2. In externality questions, you are supposed to always mention the third party first, and second, you are supposed to clearly state whether the market is overproducing a particular commodity or underproducing it. Clear? Now the cause number 2 that we are going to look at is public goods. Now a free market economy does not provide public goods. Why? Because public goods have two characteristics. First, they are non-rival, and second, they are non-excludable. Now when we say non-rival, it means that one person using a particular commodity does not reduce its availability for others. Say for example, if you walk under the street light, then just because you are walking under the street light, the light won't get dimmer for other person, correct? The second characteristic is public goods are non-excludable. That means you cannot stop anyone from using them. A street light, for example, again will light up the road for everybody who is passing through that street. You cannot just turn it off for somebody who did not pay the tax towards that, correct? Now this is what leads to the major problem with public goods, and this is called the free rider problem. Now because of the two features that we've just taken a look at, which is non-rival and non-excludable, no private firm would want to produce these goods. Why? Because ideally everybody can use them without paying. That means they are actually riding for free, right? So the market would completely fail to provide public goods, and hence it makes it necessary for governments to step in. Some classic examples of public goods would be national defense. I've already quoted one, which is street lighting. I'll write it over here. National defense. Public libraries are also an example of public goods. Now here's your tip number 3. Whenever you are talking about public goods in your exam papers, make sure that you do mention non-rival and non-excludable. These are like your key terms, and then you would want to talk about what is a free rider problem. That's what would give you your full 2 marks in the definition, and if you are beginning to talk about it in maybe a 6 marker or an 8 marker, these are the key terms that they would look forward to. Okay. The third cause is information failure. What does this mean? We also call it as imperfect information or asymmetric information. Now we assume that markets can work efficiently only when buyers and sellers have full and accurate information, or there is perfect knowledge. But do we see perfect knowledge in real world? This is something that does not happen, correct? Can we say that all the consumers are perfectly aware of all the trends in the market? No, right? There are very bright chances they may not know what are the true costs or benefits of the good, and in that case they might make decisions that are not really good for them. Similarly, producers, are they aware of all the details with regards to their production costs, with regards to the taxes, with regards to maybe the technical advancements? No, correct? And many a times producers may know more than the consumers. For example, let us say there's a car salesman who is selling used cars. Now this salesperson would know definitely that there may be some issues with the car. Maybe there may be issues with the engine, correct? But buyer doesn't know this, and the buyer may end up paying more than what actually the car would be worth for. This is market failure. So with information failure, you generally would end up making wrong decisions, and this is what would lead to market failure. So information failure is not just where consumers are underinformed, it works both ways. The key segment over here is one party is more informed than the others, and they may actually coax the other party to take decisions that might be more favorable to them rather than the person taking the decision. That's where the market fails. Cause number 4 is factor immobility. Now, for markets to work efficiently, factors of production, specifically labor and capital, are supposed to be capable of free movement, right? But generally, they cannot, right? Now, when we talk about movement, there are two types of movement that you would see. One is geographical movement, and the other one is occupational movement. Geographical, the name itself explains that you are able to move from one geographical place to another. Occupational, on the other hand, would move when you are able to seek occupation from one industry to another, or maybe from one occupation to another. Markets would fail when there is immobility regarding either of the segments. Let us say an employee in Mumbai loses his job, maybe because the factory closed. There are jobs available in, let us say, in UAE. Now, this is a different country altogether, and as we know that UAE is in already a lot of danger because of the war threat looming over the country, correct? So, there are very bright chances that this person who's lost his job in Mumbai would not relocate to UAE even if there are jobs available. So, this fellow would remain unemployed. Likewise, when we talk about occupational immobility, let us say a coal miner is losing their job because slowly and gradually the coal energy is getting phased out and people are now moving on to more solar, right? So the skills that this coal miner would have do not match with the skills that would be needed by this solar solar energy firm, correct? So this fellow would again remain unemployed, because obviously he will have to learn these skills first and then probably he would get a job. What is the result here? So the resources, technically in this case labor, is wasted, correct? They are unemployed, and this is what would lead to market failure. So when we talk about factor immobility in your exams, this is your tip number, I think, 4. So when you're writing about market failure and factor immobility specifically, you are supposed to talk about what kind of immobility is there, whether it is geographical or occupational. And if you can supplement an example, even better. Students, if you are finding this video helpful so far, please consider using the thanks button below. Your support is crucial for creating more high quality and free content for students just like you. Thank you for all your support so far. Also, if you're watching this video on your mobile, please hit the hype button so YouTube could push this video to more learners just like yourself. If you're finding studying market failure difficult, why not join one of my online tutoring sessions? I could help you dive deep into this chapter. I'm already working with students from multiple countries like UAE, Qatar, Singapore, and Hong Kong. You can reach me directly at the number displayed on your screen. And do not miss out on your 30-minute complimentary session. The 5th cause is merit and demerit goods. And this is again very closely related to information failure. Now we all know that merit goods are generally underprovided. I'll write it like this: underprovided by the market. And we know that merit goods are those goods which are socially desirable, for example, healthcare and education, correct? Now generally people tend to underestimate their benefits, and because of this they tend to underconsume them. Now since there is not much consumption, obviously the production would also be less, hence the underproduction. Demerit goods, on the other hand, are not socially desirable and are worse for you than you realize. For example, alcohol, tobacco, gambling, so on and so forth. People underestimate the damage that these goods may do to you and others at large. These goods, also more addictive in nature, are overproduced and overconsumed. Now in both the cases, government needs to intervene. For example, subsidies for merit goods to be given, and likewise demerit goods to be taxed. Exam tip: for this would be a lot of students, they kind of mix up between merit and demerit goods and between positive and negative externalities. So you would want to categorize it separately for the individual and the society at large, just like we did for vaccines earlier. So it keeps you healthy. At the same time, it stops the spread of disease because of you. That's an externality. Okay. The next cause is inequality. So inequality is basically the distribution of income and wealth. Even if a market is perfectly efficient, the outcomes may be unfair, right? So the free market would reward most of those people who would have capital or skills or resources, and those who don't would generally be left behind. In simple terms, the more wealth that one holds, the more of it they will earn. And likewise, if you don't have wealth, you are poor, you might tend to become more poor because you don't have the resources to earn more money. And if a larger proportion of the population has very low income, then it might be very difficult for them to kind of participate in the market. They might have to sacrifice on a lot of their basic necessities just because they may not be able to afford them. This also leads to market failure because market is producing only for those people who have enough purchasing power, and those who cannot are royally ignored. Correct? So here's our exam tip. Inequality as market failure is about the distribution of output, not just the quantity. You are supposed to link the concept that markets would only respond to demand that is backed by money and not by need. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button. It genuinely helps the channel to grow. And subscribe so you don't miss out on the next video. Let me know in the comment which cause would you like me to cover first, whether it's externalities or public goods. And I'll see you in the next one. Until then, bye now. Take care.